You sent me a tracking,
Yeah,
little tracking thingy. Yeah, so I had a look at that.
I don't know. That's why I made that part of the agreement. I like the idea of everyone's taking part having a physical copy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Doing the digital copy, I don't know. It just feels very impersonal.
Yeah, yeah, and I know chance of it getting sort of, I don't know, not quite as prominent. Like if you got a physical copy, you're gonna pop it up on your shelf there, and show it to your guests when you have them around and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
there's just something real about it, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
that's something we've missed out today. I love digital technology. It's great.
Mm,
We can sit here like this,
mm,
and chat away halfway across the world, different time zones, everything doesn't matter.
mm.
But there's something about a physical thing. It's been manifested into reality. You
Mm.
have concepts, ideas, put things together, but when you actually create something, it's a product, it exists. I think there's a sense of satisfaction about that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I remember when I did the book launch for the collection I wrote, the Betrayals and
Hmm.
Entrails, years ago, and I was so surprised how enthusiastic everyone that came was to, get a copy and have like a
Hmm.
physical freaking copy. Real,
Yeah, it makes it
real
real,
cool,
doesn't
man.
it?
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you're, I don't know about your background, but mine's just, just a working class kind of dude, and I, writing's always just been my hobby as a, something I sort of wanted to get into. I sort of get the same, similar vibe from watching your videos.
Yeah, pretty much. I wouldn't call, I could call myself a podcaster without hesitation,
Mm,
but I'm still having trouble classing myself as a writer
mm,
because I don't do it enough, and it's not my main focus.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, the whole thing with the publishing, I wanted to be part of the solution because talking to all you guys, you know what I mean, and you've been involved for a couple of years now with the podcast, when you submitted your stories for the
Mm,
narrated fiction segment. Um, you've seen sort of what I do. It's like I like talking to independent creators outside of the
mm,
corporate structure and people just trying to make their way. And that was always one of the big hurdles that people come across is just where do I get my work out? So this has been sort of, I don't know, forming in the back of my head for a while. I want to do something. I want to be part of the solution, not just, oh, that's shocking, that's bad, that's terrible, pat in the head sort of thing.
mm.
I wanted to actually get in there. So, yeah, the idea of publishing, being a small press publisher, the more I looked into it, it was like, yeah, I could do that. And then with the podcast as well, and the brand that's been built up,
Mm.
still, there's always growth. You know what I mean? There's still well to go. But I just felt we're at the right point with enough fans and enough subscribers, enough people, supporters
Yeah,
to do it, so that it's worthwhile. For the authors involved, and worthwhile for me that we can take this step. I'm glad you're
yeah,
part of it as well. It's fantastic. It's great to see folks like yourself who've been with me since the early days.
mm,
Still being involved and still keeping tabs. Like last year, you sent as a birthday message for the celebration stream, and it was great to just see folks like yourself coming back and believing in what I do.
mm. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's real cool that you've been able to keep the momentum going so long because it's a difficult kind of thing to continually be doing it, over and over again, and real easy life can sort of take over sometimes, and other hobbies or different job or stress at work or whatever, or relationships or whatever can kind of take over your time and stuff like that. Like I
Oh
started,
yeah,
yeah, I started my second collection and just kind of ran out of steam halfway through,
mhm. That's when you need to sort of take a step back, go somewhere else. As in
Mm,
mentally
mm,
step away from it and go somewhere else, and but be productive.
mm,
I think the worst thing is to procrastinate. So
mm,
I like when I feel myself getting burnt out with the podcast. That's when I start looking at writing again.
mm.
You know
Okay.
what I mean? I keep my videos going because that's the thing. You have to be consistent. So once you start something, you have to write. You have to keep going. It's
Yeah.
going to be the same with this anthology collection. If I don't keep the momentum going, then people will think it's just a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a bit of pressure there to keep the release schedule going. On a regular basis.
Yeah.
I'm looking at I don't know, 3 to 4 a year. I think that's reasonable
Okay. Like
for
you,
anthology releases. I have a couple of other projects in between, but I think 3 to 4 of these books a year would be reasonable to
wow,
try and keep the momentum, keep them going.
that'd be awesome.
Um, it's expensive putting them together, when you think of everything involved.
Yeah.
It's not just on a whim, so that's got to be factored in too. So you have to be committed, I think. You just don't. I think so many people have in their heads about being a creator. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but then they're not prepared to put themselves out. They're not prepared to go short for a month to make the project go ahead. It doesn't matter what you do. I think there is an element of that. You have to be prepared to go, right, I'm not going to go for a Friday night out to the pub with my mates because I've got to do this stream. I've got to be there. I've got to edit the videos. I'm not going to buy the shiny new thing that's come out because this is what I've got to invest my money in.
Yeah.
It's all those sort of factors.
Yeah.
But yeah, get your head screwed on and go the direction. Everything else sort of falls into place.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. That's really really kind of profound in a way. Like you got to make time for what you want in life, and be willing to sacrifice. You can't sort of be everywhere and have everything, can you?
Oh no. And I think is that not an expectation today, especially with social media? There's this sort of fake persona put up of everybody does everything, and it's only snippet. It's a lot of it is manufactured and it's not real. But I think young folks and more naive people look at that and think that's the expectation, or it just falls into your place, just falls into your lap, and you don't have to do anything in return. I don't think that's a good place to be, and I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't.
I don't think there's an easy fix. Like, I don't believe, like some people always go to the extreme, so it's like, oh, we've got to ban social media. I'm like, no, it's a useful tool. But you got to do this. No, it's like you have to regulate yourself on an individual basis. Oh, don't want to hear that. Don't want to hear that. It's like, you got to take some personal responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Hell yeah, yeah. So I did want to ask you, man. You said you watched Cure last night.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Did you sleep okay?
Yeah, I slept like a baby. But, I really enjoyed that. That was cool. That was I would class that as sci-fi horror, but it was borderline supernatural.
Yeah.
Like, there's that that bit where science and magic sort of blend and nobody's quite sure. Science takes you so far and then you don't know what's happening, so then it becomes magic. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think he's sort of pushing, the director or whoever wrote it, whoever was in charge was kind of pushing right up against the supernatural, but he doesn't quite go over the edge,
No, and that's where it's fun, because there's nothing worse than having everything spelled out.
Yeah.
Or paint by numbers. That's why I'm not a massive fan of the Blumhouse stuff.
The Blumhouse stuff?
Blumhouse movies?
Nah.
The Conjuring, Megan, all them type of ones.
Yeah, okay. Because they spell it all
very,
out. Yeah.
They're very paint by numbers, very, by the book, spelled out.
What's that term?
You almost feel like you're sleepwalking through those sort of movies.
Yeah, like I think they call it the exposition, where they explain to you, like
the
end of
the tale that don't show.
End of the cop show, and there was the bad guy with the with the wrench in the freaking living room that done the murder or something, and they tell you exactly what happened and stuff. Yeah, but I love the way the end of Cure. I thought it sort of signaled right back to the beginning, like when did this guy, the hypnotist kind of guy, when did he set this all up? And you know what I mean?
Oh,
like would it continue
Amaya, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, even after he died, would it still continue to happen? I guess it would.
Yeah. He has a plan, but you don't know what the plan is, and it's frustrating, but it's also good storytelling too.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're just as confused as it's almost like your point. I like it when you're sort of the point of view at times of the characters. So Takabe, you know, he is none the wiser from when he came into this situation than when he left, and that makes sense. How many times have you seen sort of real life events or true crime, and you're just sort of like, why? And you never get the worst one's that idiot. And I don't understand how he became a phenomenon. Do you know what idiot Ted Bundy?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And if you look at the absolute shambles of the court appearances and all that, it was an absolute joke. And you sort of like, you go, how the hell did people get enamored by him?
Yeah, yeah.
How did he do that? Because this guy's an absolute creepy. You know, even when I saw some of the video at a young age, you're like, what the hell? Like, how are people getting sucked in by this moron? How is he dancing rings around the court and stuff? And you're just like,
He was the guy the women was sending him stuff in prison and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, and one of them married him and stuff to try and get him out. And, you know, it was odd, and you're just like, how did this happen?
Wow.
And we never got an answer for it, or how did he operate? Because he wasn't somebody hid in the shadows, you know, and like jumped out and bopped people in the head. He charmed women to get them into the, you know, the positions they were in, and you're just like, this guy, like, if I met that guy, you'd just be like, ugh, you know.
Yeah.
Even when he was being charming. Who's that other one? The cult leader. The family.
Oh, the cult leader. Anton LaVey?
No.
No.
No, Anton LaVey's the head of the Church of Satan. He was good.
Yeah.
He was anti-cult, actually.
Okay.
He hated the whole cult thing. That was the whole purpose of him starting up the church.
Okay. I gotcha. Oh,
no,
was it
Manson?
Manson. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you look at him and he's gnarly. Like he's like a tramp. You know, somebody that you like, you know, you don't want to get within spell distance of.
Yeah.
And yet, even when you see the pictures of him when he's, you know, before the beard and stuff, and he went full out there, you're just like, how? And that's a bit like us, Maya. That's I am going somewhere with this. You know what I mean? This Maya character. You're just like, why would you invite him into your house? Why would you have him anywhere near you? This guy's obviously, you know, just the way he's going about. You cross the street and you walk the other way. You don't go and have a conversation with him.
Yeah, he's so sort of weird, like existing in his own little world. Sort of like no feelings, like he's looking at the rest of the world like it's in a cage or in a snow globe or something like that. Like he doesn't quite.
Well, he's like a smackhead. You know, he's like somebody off their head and drugs or a homeless person. You just, you know, one of the dangerous ones. You know, he just had that way about him. And it's like, why would you even? You'd cross the street and you walk the other way. You wouldn't go anywhere near him.
Yeah, kind of bizarre how I think the first victim, you know, invites him. The husband of the first victim, invites him into his home, like after finding him at the beach. Yeah, kind of weird, but you know, because he doesn't know who he is or why he's there or whatever.
But I think that was part of the. This is what gets revealed, I think, further along the movie, that he has this. He doesn't choose randomly come across people. He chooses his victims, and the idea of the subliminal messaging, and you know, he's already primed his victim before he even meets them.
Yeah, of course, yeah, okay.
You know, that's the depth of the study that he's done. It's not a mere chance that he meets him. Like the one where he jumps off the building with the police officer, he's obviously primed that police. That's something that he would have to have done to get the police officer to react. Or with the school teacher sitting on the beach, but there's something, you know, these aren't chance encounters. He's chosen his victims, what he wants to do, and he's got them. That's a frightening thing. That you don't know if you're in the presence of an actual predator. You don't know what's being done, or you don't know how much control you have in the situation.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's horror. That's a good horror tale. That it doesn't matter what you've tried to do. You're sort of lost. Once that person has you in their sights, you're almost done for.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was a really powerful kind of movie when the first guy kills his wife, and the cops are interrogating him. Sorry, and he just got no idea why, and he's sort of screaming and laughing, and he's obviously been messed with.
Yeah. Have you ever? I used to back in the day, just sort of what was it, like Darren Brown and stuff, hypnotists. It's a full-on process. What you see on the stage isn't really. That's only part of the process.
Okay.
When they do their shows, like hypnotizing someone's like a whole thing, and you can only hypnotize somebody that wants to be.
Okay.
So you can only hypnotize somebody that submits to the process.
So that's pretty incredible if this guy can sort of hypnotize people without their consent.
But like I said, the actual bit where he meets them, that's the end of the process. He's already started this maybe weeks before. That's what I got from the movie when I was sort of watching it and seeing, the studies. Not he's picked his victim and he's primed him. Even Takabe, the detective, he's primed that guy. You almost feel like it's part of his plan. Nobody else is actually in control except Minowa, and you're like, oh crap, that's frightening.
Yeah, that's a really good kind of, I don't know, burn in the story. A real good core of it. Yeah, and even after Mummy is, left, he's still kind of in control, and
he's still there. He's even him getting killed doesn't mean anything to him, because what he's planned or what he hoped to achieve is still going to go ahead. That's frightening. You cannot bully, threaten, or even kill someone like that. You've no chance. You come across somebody that has that much focus or that much clarity that their plan is in place, you have no hope. Like, to me, that is frightening. Like,
hell yeah.
How do you deal with someone like that?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Because you've already lost.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. As soon as they've made their decision, you're gone.
Yeah. But it was interesting at the start, because we meet Takabe's wife, and she's in the psychiatrist. It sort of pans out. She's reading. You're like, oh right, who's she reading to? And then it turns out she's visiting a psychiatric facility. And that whole story as well, Takabe's been slowly ground down because he's basically his loved ones dealing with dementia, and the actual degradation of somebody that you used to know just is not that person anymore.
Yeah,
like that in itself is a whole story.
Yeah, that's a real. That could be a horror story on its own. Yeah, yeah.
That's a the unbending mind, or the untwisting of just somebody that's no longer has a grip in reality. Like, I think I've talked about this with horror people. It's one of my fears of being in a nursing home, just not sort of being in there in your own head, trapped, but not just not being yourself anymore and doing it.
Yeah, I used to work.
I'd rather not make it that far.
Yeah. I think.
I'd rather have a heart attack early and just be done than I'd rather not have an extra 10 years of life if that's what the life's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that agree with that.
Yeah.
I used to work in one of those places, and sometimes it was the dementia ward. And you'd get people like looking out the window, and they'd go and walk up to the window and try and turn the door handle and stuff. And, it ain't opening, And every once in a while I'd let them out, and You could go for a walk in the garden if they were up to it. Yeah, pretty horrible way to go. All right, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And maybe if you're completely oblivious, it mightn't seem as bad. But if there's part of you still in there, aware of what's happening to you, and we saw this with Takabe's wife. When she had her lucid moments, she knew what was happening. And it's just like, oh god, that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed that. I really did. I'm glad you recommended it to me. Yeah, it was a good movie, and it was good actually going along the journey. And even before we meet Benoit properly in the confrontation between him and Takabe, you're sort of seeing how this playing out. You're trying to figure out what on earth is going on.
Yeah, yeah, I really liked it at the I don't know, the first hour or so, or the first half hour, whatever. Really kept me guessing, like, how the hell is this gonna play out? You know, how's it gonna be? Like, it just didn't start sort of making sense until, you know, you really get into it. And
that's it's not often you see one of these movies. They don't make movies like that anymore.
Nah, no way. Nah, I don't think so.
Everything has to be spelled out now. There's no mystery or no trying to.
Yeah.
And this is a long-term problem. If people lose their imagination or their wonder, we're in trouble as a culture. You know, as in human race. We're without imagination, without that. Trying to unpick things or figure out, or even attention span. God, people don't even have attention span anymore.
Nah.
That's not good, because there's life's hard, you need to knuckle down, and writing, for example, you need to be focused.
Yeah.
And the more flighty people are getting, we're not going to progress, we're not going to get new work, we're not going to get new imaginations, and also imagination leads to problem solving in the real world. You look at civil service, for example, they have no imagination whatsoever. And all they know is to go through the process. They're not going to be entrepreneurs, they're not going to change anything. We don't need that. We need a balance, you know what I mean? You need people like that, because that's do the humdrum, but you still need an environment where we have the mad geniuses or the people who try stuff, because if we don't move forward.
Yeah,
we don't solve problems, all we do is complain.
Like, so much good science and engineering and tech comes out of crazy people saying, what if we do this?
Yeah, let's have a go, but you need something even before that. It's the sort of chicken and egg, because you need a story. Storytelling, I do believe, is the core tenet of humanity. It's what makes us different from every other creature. It's our ability to tell stories.
Yeah, I think I've heard that somewhere. Yeah. No, totally agree.
Yeah. And that's the bit. It's the storytelling that might spark somebody's imagination. Oh, is that possible? Because somebody's imagined it. And then somebody tries to make it into reality. And then it mightn't be the exact thing, but it leads somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, but that's one thing I have a conversation with. On my podcast, I always say to people that creation isn't a waste of time. Don't get caught up in the monetary side of things, or, you know, expecting just the right to be famous or to get published, etc. But if you spend time creating, even if it goes nowhere, you're not wasting your time, because it's like going to the gym for your brain. You're doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I sometimes think about the media and stuff, and like when they want to, maybe sometimes I wonder if they want to spin stuff or whatever, but they couldn't sort of do it without some kind of structured narrative that we already have in place, you know. Yeah.
Like Manawa here, you know, he's got his when we start seeing his techniques as we move along. So he uses the elements, he uses fire, he uses water, he uses air. You know, obviously these are things he studied. The thing with the doctor, like, that was the most telling one. He wasn't allowed to have his lighter, so he's sort of thinking, oh right, water, and then he uses a glass of water, you know, to do what he put her in a trance.
Yeah.
You know, you could see he was a bit perplexed that he wasn't allowed to smoke, so he couldn't use his lighter. So he's like, "Oh, what do I do? What do I do? Ah, right." And him actually trying to solve the problem to do what he wanted to do. And you're like, bloody hell, that's.
That's yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I think that's really well thought out filmmaking too.
There's no special effects. You know what I mean? There's a few special effects, obviously, in the murder scenes and the aftermath. But most of this is character driven. Like it's pure character acting. Most of the scenes are one or two people in a room.
Yeah.
And it shows how powerful something. If you've got a good story and a good script, and people on board, and the actors weren't overacting. They were just, to me, they were competent. You weren't seeing any fantastic performances. But because all the rest was in place, they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Takabe didn't need to be some over dramatized.
Nah.
Like he was, most of the time he was stoic. He was going about his business. Apart from the scene where he had to actually finally break down. When it came, it was when the police officer was telling his personal business. Like, I don't love that guy too. If a colleague was like telling my personal business to someone else, like random, especially in that scenario where it's actually a suspect, you're like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Fully losing it, eh?
Yeah. No, but I do it. I 100% would at that point. I would do that too. If somebody's actually giving your personal details to a suspect.
Yeah,
that's not good.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed that, eh? Yeah. I think that was one of the most interesting movies or sort of different movies I've seen in a long time. I was kind of amazed I hadn't seen it before because it came out in 1997.
Yep.
And
but that's the good thing about now. Things are getting archived. I think actually the Japanese are doing better than likes of Hollywood. They don't. They're more about the posterity, so they'll archive everything. They've got projects going that they archive all their movies and they make it available. Where Hollywood's all about trying to squeeze every flipping penny out of you. Yeah. So they're actually going against, because there's movies getting lost now, and I think that's why people are fed up with streaming, and that's why I was one of the unplugged, back in the 2000s, from cable TV, because you just got that sense you're being ripped off. They're wanting you to give them money but nothing in return, and the same crap, and you're just like, nah. Now people are going back to physical media because streaming's doing exactly the same thing, and movies are getting lost because of people without imagination in the back rooms, and all they're seeing are percentages and profits and how can they screw the other guy over, and it's not actually
man. Like how many remakes have there been in the last 15 years? Just crazy.
It's horrible.
I'd say. Yeah.
The worst one, the most offensive one was, well, apart from The Crow 2024, that was an abomination. But Speak No Evil was a Danish movie.
Okay.
And it wasn't even out 2 years, and they remade it. Hollywood remade it.
Really?
Like, there's a movie not even out 2 years, and it's a good movie, and I don't mind movies like this. I didn't watch it as dubbed. I watch it with subtitles. That's what I like, subtitled movies, because I like to hear the language, the original language, because that's what the emotion is, rather than somebody reading it, just voice acting over the top of it, because they're not in the moment. Once again, back to not having attention span, people can't read subtitles anymore.
Yeah.
So it had to be remade Hollywood style, and then they changed the actual horror bit. And they even during the trailer, that's a bit that really annoyed me. There's a particular line that is actually the spoiler in the movie, and they put that in the trailer.
For the really?
Movie. And you're just like, you bunch of idiots.
What?
Yeah. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anybody. If you watch the original, don't bother with the Hollywood version. Watch the original, and I'll not spoil it. Stay away from the trailers.
All right. See no evil.
Speak No Evil.
Speak No Evil. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. I'll
That's
check it
really,
out.
a grip one. Watch the original Danish version.
Okay.
there's a mix of subtitles and English as well. So it's when they use the subtitles, one's a Dutch family, one's a Danish family, and they meet each other. So they use English as the sort of babel fish to speak to each other. But then when they want to speak to like in private, they revert their own language, and the subtitles come. So it's very clever.
Is it like two couples hanging out
couples
together?
Holiday.
I may have seen that one.
Couple invites them over.
I may have seen that one. It's the one I'm thinking of.
We'll talk off stream about that. That's
okay. Cool.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to spoil it for the audience because the original is worth a watch. It's really gripping horror, and it does have you guessing what the whole motive is. But like I said, not even 2 years out, and they remade it, dumbed it down, and ruined it. You're just like, why?
That's bizarre. That's just shameful. Yeah, it's just so sort of shallow, really. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you have lack of imagination. This is all back to the point of storytelling is key. Having an active imagination is key. Being able to have that moment. It doesn't have to be your whole life. Not everybody has to be a creator as their profession, but I feel that everybody needs to create.
Yeah.
Even if it's you need some sort of outlet.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah.
If you think about, because I'm working class as well. I come from a working class family, and this whole idea of you're only allowed to be a creator if you're middle class, I think is absolute nonsense. Because if you go to the pubs, like the old school pubs, let's go back to the Wicker Man, for example. When you think of the pubs, everyone played an instrument, everyone sang, they all got together, folk music. That's 100% working class creation. Yeah,
like everybody participates.
Yep, sea shanties, cadences, all that stuff. That's just an example of working class creators. It's not limited to your background. There's always an avenue, an outlet to create. I don't like this idea of you're not allowed to exercise your imagination unless you're one of us.
Yeah, I hate that. Yeah,
I do see a bit in the writing sort of sphere, and once again, it's just people scrambling to get to the top, to get the more likes, so they think they'll have to push everybody else down. It's human, it's part of the environment. Thankfully, the horror genre isn't as bad. There's obviously still a bit of it, but it's nowhere near as bad as other genres. So if you look at sci-fi, you look at comedy, you look at all, generic fiction, you see the writers there and the way they're so snarky, and it's the editors, the ones that are trying to tout their business as an editor, and they're really nasty. How dare you think you can write unless you go through me, sort of thing. And you're like, really? What's that about?
Yeah, it's like, are they doing that for money or something? Like,
yeah, well, that's it. They're trying to tout their business, and the way they choose to do it is just to belittle somebody. As if you haven't had it's this sort of aggressive pitch. If you haven't had your story professionally edited, you're nothing. How dare you write or put something out there?
And then click here to.
Oh, by the way, I
website.
offer services. The deal of it. Oh, that's horrendous. I went to a marketing thing. I was curious because I'd heard about them, the entrepreneurs. So one of these events came up, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go. And oh my god, watching that, it's like Manawa here, watching them in action, like live. Like when you watch a movie or read about, you are slightly detached. You've got that element of safety. So imagine encountering somebody like Mamaya. I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Mamaya? Yeah.
Is it Mamaya or Mamaya?
Is it, if it's Mami, that would be Mami?
Yeah. With a YA at the end.
Yeah, Mamia, I think. I did Japanese at high school, but wasn't didn't get very good at it. Yeah.
But yeah, imagine getting a chance to witness somebody come in action, like live. So that's what I did when I went to this working in events, you know, actually watch these people, how they operate, and oh my god, it was an eye opener. It's like I'm never going to be like that. I don't care if I never become rich or famous or anything nonsense like that. You know, I'd rather have my integrity.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think that's way more important, man. Yeah. No, that's way more important. No doubt. You know? Well, it reminds me of that old Beatles song where the words go something like people gain the world and lose their soul. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you look at the celebrities. And many of them end up, you know, burnt out. Especially the 80s, you know, the 80s and 90s. Look at all the ones that end up burnt out and drugs and just having to go to rehab 6 times a year.
Yeah.
They're not happy. Look at them now. They're all on that, what do you call it, Ozempic.
Ozempic.
They all look like skeletons.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, they all look as if they're POWs. They don't look good.
Like
there's nothing attractive about them.
They could be in a horror movie, yeah.
yeah, that is. It's like just put a bit of makeup on. You got the zombie apocalypse. Just get everybody in the Oscars and put some zombie makeup on. Just have them shambling because they're. And then when you see them on social media, they're so needy. Like they just need to be validated every minute of every day, and that's pathetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Look at the bigger YouTubers. Look at the way they get on. Like you know, constantly sniping with each other and stuff, and you're just like,
oh really?
Really?
Yeah.
Not in the horror. That's the funny thing. Once again, not in the horror genre. I don't think the horror genre is sexy enough because we just don't have that mentality.
Yeah.
So there won't be the big bust ups and stuff because people are like, "Are you doing something? Oh, cool! I'm doing something too. Come on, talk about it."
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, man.
You're doing well. Fantastic. You know, and there's a different vibe about it. So you don't get the same, I don't know, sexiness or you know all that kind of stuff and exclusives.
Yeah. A bit more. I don't know, humility or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or
not to grow or anything.
I think because we explore the dark, like we watch movies, I guess, and we see where it leads. Like, Mamiya is a complete narcissist. He wants to be a god. If you think about it, his plan is godhood.
Yeah.
In essence, he is 100% committed to that. Even after his own death, he wants to be in everyone's set. He wants to be in everybody's heads. You know, he believes he's ascending.
Yeah. He should be in charge. Yeah, the right to control.
Yeah, but it's not even
people,
in charge. It's he does want to be a god. You know, that's it. He thinks that his body, he's leaving his physical body. That you know, he kind of sees more as you. He seems like somebody like stoned or you know. Off his meds or something, or you know that, but you realise that he's in his own mind. He thinks he's transcended to another plane, and that's how he's doing it is by being in the psyche of everyone.
Yeah.
And when you see the studies that he's doing and everything else, that's his plan, and you can't fight against that. But also, what a waste of a life.
Yeah.
'Cause at the end of the day, that's got to run out. You know.
Yeah, man.
There's only so many people he can do in his life, but that eventually peters out, and like anything may be forgotten.
Bit of a waste of like a waste of a life. Yeah, obviously clever. Eh? Could have done anything.
Yeah, and that's is that not part of the thing as well? You see people like I can translate this into today. You see people that maybe have talent or have fame, and what do they do with it? They live a lifestyle well above their means, so they need to be like they're on a treadmill. So they don't put an essay. I mean, they have to have 5 mansions. They can't have one. They have to be in a private jet everywhere. They have to do all this stupid stuff. So what they make, their stupid amounts of money they make, does them no better because they're living a lifestyle that they're. It's no different than living in an apartment and overspending and not having your rent every month. you know, and always having to like do overtime just to pay your rent because you live a lifestyle.
Yeah.
There's no difference. So
Yeah.
what does it achieve?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Shall we talk about Jacob's Ladder?
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah. Did you see they done a remake of it? I was
Oh god, no.
I think back in
Did not do
2019.
a series or a TV
I just
show?
saw this. I was just looking at some, videos of it this week, and I just saw there's a remake. I mean,
Here's the thing with Jacob's Ladder: once you've seen it, you've lost the shock value. Once you know what the ending is, you know what I mean. It's you're more sort of going through watching. Oh right, okay, this is what's happening. That's what's happening. It's one of them movies that you watch once and you get the impact of it.
yeah, yeah. I kind of agree with you there. Yeah, it's. I thought it was really powerful, and it's sort of a multi-genre movie. Like it's sort of crossing a few boundaries. Like there's elements of horror and there's elements of sadness, and it's sort of touching on war movies. And
Yeah, the Vietnam War. That was America still hasn't gotten over that.
no,
Like
yeah,
it was a
yeah.
disaster. I think the Vietnam War is a classic example of American arrogance
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
and them getting absolutely panned. You know, and rightly so. I think UK. I think we sort of got a bit of that in Iraq because we had a bit of arrogance going in. Of we've got this all sussed. I think that's it didn't quite work out. But the difference is that once it realised that the plan had changed, it's not going to be a cool breeze. At least I believe we have the humility to change tactics and not, but the Americans don't have that ability. And they're still like that. You know, I mean, it's I'm right. I'm always going to be right. It's almost ideological. You know, it's a weird thing. Even when things are going wrong, this is the right path. We'll charge on. And I think Vietnam War, if you want to see it, is perfect. You know, example of that.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty horrific kind of thing to dwell on. And I honestly thought when I started watching the movie and saw it's touching on the war there, I thought I was going to hate it because I sort of hate the idea of the the attackers blowing the shit out of someone and then acting like they're the victims, and that just sort of puts me off. And there's quite a few movies like that I think over the years, but this one kind of didn't, because I think you see this guy Jacobs kind of, I don't know, you just really relate to him well. That's what I found. Like I sort of, maybe relate to him well is not the right words, but I sort of understood his position. He was just a young guy that got in the war for whatever reason, and
Well, don't forget, and that's one thing that maybe we all don't understand. The rest of the Anglosphere, Americans conscripted. They were conscripts,
yeah,
right? New Zealand, Australia, UK, Canada. I don't know about Canada, but we have never had to conscript soldiers. Even from the Napoleonic Wars onwards, there's always been a
Okay.
volunteer army.
so it was never volunteered for
They were
America.
they were conscripts.
Okay, like they had to serve it.
They had
Oh
to,
yeah,
they
they
had
did,
to,
eh? That's right, because
Yeah, they were
Muhammad Ali,
conscripted.
the boxer, got in all
something you would
kinds of
expect
trouble.
from a communist bloc country.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? There were conscripts. You never go. Conscripts never work. I'll use the Falklands War as a perfect example. The Argentinians were conscripts. They hadn't a chance in hell. It doesn't matter. They had more ships. You know what I mean? They're right on their doorstep, and an expedition force had to go. They were conscripts, so they were never going to win, because you don't force someone to do that. They're never going to go well, and that's when you think of the size of America. The fact they had to conscript their soldiers, to go to that war. That's, there's something wrong. There's something fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
And you have to go, this isn't law, you're going or you're going to jail. You're screwed. You've already lost before you've batted the first round down the range.
Yeah, and no wonder they didn't want to be over there.
Well, of course, if you don't have a volunteer army, and yes, there's obviously, don't want to get into politics and stuff, but there's people sign up, and obviously things governments do, and what ordinary soldiers, and First World War is a perfect example, the generals were doing whatever, but the guys in the trenches didn't actually hate each other. They knew they were there to do their duty. What was that? Paul McCartney song, wasn't it? All about the Christmas trees and stuff. You've got examples of that. There's a sense of honour on the battlefield, and that's always been a thing of not going to do gnarly stuff to you. This is not that. This is like the most horrendous. Not just the war itself, not just the way the war was conducted, but what the government was prepared to do to their own.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got a government that's prepared to use you as a lab rat, you're never winning.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I thought that was done really masterfully well, like in that movie, like all the way through he's hallucinating and thinks people are after him and stuff like that. I read a few reviews on Reddit and stuff like that as well about some people sort of thought the conspiracy bit at the end where that guy sort of takes him aside and says, hey man, your squad was used as experimental, for this fancy drug or whatever, you guys were tested with this drug, and some people didn't like that, but I thought that was really cool. Like
what was it, DPZ or something? Yeah. That was actually a thing.
Yeah.
There's stock footage of this is the whole denial. That shit was happening. Do you know what I mean? They were actually not so much, and this they put in the food, but they were aerosol spraying their own blokes. It was the same as nuclear tests.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They would sail the ship up and let off a nuclear bomb to see what the effect was. You're like, oh my god, jeez, is that the only way you could do it? Really?
I don't know. I don't want to know, man. But that's creepy shit, eh? That's creepy, man.
I always had this thing during the Cold War. I did not see the USSR or the USSA or USA being any different. There were two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
They were both just as horrible as each other. They both did the propaganda. They're, you know what I mean? They've both got that huge country, peasant soldiers with pitchforks send them to the front line to die sort of mentality. They're both exactly the same. Same as China. Those sort of huge countries have that sort of, because of the massive populaces, they need to be like that, I think, to keep under control. So
I think it leads
smaller countries.
Yeah, I think it kind of leads to a national fear or something. Like you've got so much, but then you've got so much to lose. So you got this huge amounts of power and huge fear as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, paranoia. It's like where I think with our, because our countries are similar size. Everybody's more valuable. Yeah, there's no perfect, there's no such thing as perfect, but it's a different perspective. Smaller country, smaller population, you have to value everybody on the team. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, makes sense. Whereas the bigger lands, they can just be a bit more, the people are a bit more expendable. Yeah, that's what I mean. They just see their own citizens as expendable, and I think the Vietnam War, I'd say it'd be the worst. I think that's the most shameful part of American history. I think they can't get their heads around that still. Yeah. That's why they go completely the other way. Thank you for your service and all, and the fawn over veterans and stuff, because they're still apologising for this period of their history. Because this was I didn't realise it was that long, 1955 to 1975. You know what I mean? It's a 20-year war. Yeah. That's that was the same as the Iraq campaign, Afghan. You know what I mean? Long campaigns. Yeah. Up Batter over here, was 43 years. You know what I mean? Long campaigns of God, it grinds people down, but this really got in the psyche of, the Americans, and they're still dealing with it.
Yeah, yeah. So the Vietnamese, eh? Have you been to the I know
I
the War
think
Museum.
Vietnam is better off. I think the Vietnamese have actually coped better than the Americans are still struggling with us mentally, in their psyche. I think it's done more damage to their psyche. Yeah, maybe physical damage in Vietnam, but I think they've recovered better than the Americans have. This is, the Americans are still twisted up about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all the propaganda they have does lead to a lot of denial. I think the countries that don't have that much propaganda are, they got their eyes open, so they, they haven't got nonsense coming in their head all the time. Yeah.
And that's the funny thing. At least you can, we can objectively look at it and go, all right, okay, that's them. I hope we never be like that. But then we've got our own. Nowhere's perfect.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more of it today, like military-grade propaganda on a daily basis. It's mental. It's I don't know. It's not going to lead to a good place. Once again, it's question imagine when you've got this constantly. This is how you think. This is these are the things you say. This is how you operate, and leaving no room for imagination. Like I said, society in general doesn't go in a good place because you quash the entrepreneurial spirit, you quash imagination, you quash the chance for what new works are being created now that are going to last 100 years, 200 years.
Yeah.
We still talk about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. We still talk about Bram Stoker's Dracula. We still look at Gothic cathedrals. This movie, if that was, like I said, the remake will be forgotten. If the reason this movie was made, because it was still made during a time that imagination was allowed and encouraged.
Yeah.
It's not an easy watch, and it's not a. It's a confusing movie.
Yeah.
You get to you see where it's going. But people can't cope with this today.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing, and it's confusing, and it's scary.
This is
But it's still really good, and I thought, spoiler alert, but I thought it ended kind of nicely, or as nicely as it could.
The whole movie in perspective.
How
many times have you laid there and just went through your life?
Yeah.
That sort of point between being awake and asleep, and you sort of mull over in your head, sort of your memories, and then as you go into a dream state, your memories blend with other ones, and then that's where your stories in your own head sort of appear. You can see this, and this guy's obviously going through not just the war, but there's trauma before the war.
Yeah.
He was a father, he lost his son.
Yeah.
Now, did he leave his wife? Did he move in with Jezebel from work? We don't know. Is that part of his dream state that he just somehow has? Was she really called Jezebel, or is this his religion? Putting the names. From the Bible, and was this him sorting them in, or did it completely cause that? You start looking and going. I don't know. I don't think you're meant to know.
Yeah. There's a few different ways to sort of perceive it. Like during, I think maybe just after I watched it, and sit there and sort of think about it afterwards, I thought, well, maybe, the first part with Sarah and then the part with Jezebel, he's, imagining Jezebel because he needs to imagine that he came back to America and he had a happy life after the war, but then all of that's nonsense. Kind of like one of those movies where it's like, here's this cool story that never happened.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think that's the whole point of this story. You're on the journey.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're not going to. For anybody who hasn't seen it, we're being deliberately obtuse about the spoiler because that's the whole crux of the movie.
Hmm.
And if you haven't seen it before, you need to watch it and get that experience without it being spoiled.
Hmm.
That's what makes this movie so impactful. It's not the same experience when you watch it for the second or third time, but you still get something out of it because you're looking at it with a more analytical mind. And I think the second time you watch it, you're going through the journey more. And even me watching this again for doing this, by now, it's been a few years since I've watched it last, and I was in a more reflective mode. So I was sort of taking parts of it, and parts of the hallucinations that he's having, and losing his mind. But you're taking it in a different context, So I got something different again from watching this movie.
Cool.
That was the thing, though. He's not an assuming bloke. He's not like a stud or anything. But it's funny how all the women in this throw themselves at him.
Yeah.
Very subtly done, but it's a hint as well.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point, man. Yeah.
Because he has the loving wife and his 3 kids. Well, obviously he had 3 kids. He's 2, but he just happens to, get in the relationship with the hottest girl in the workplace. While he's struggling a minimum wage as a postal worker, but also when he goes to the parties, of course, everyone's fawning over him. He just happens to be every girl he meets. Is completely enamored by him, and I think that's a hint. That's a little hint from him.
Yeah, that's a good observation, man. Yeah.
It's a subtle thing, but it's useful as part of the storytelling. It's clever storytelling because it's showing something happening. Like, once again, we're avoiding spoilers for this one because bloody hell. Then obviously he starts meeting up with the vets and stuff, and the plan or the plot starts to unfold.
Yeah. Starts to go sort of, I don't know, haywire on him. Yeah.
Have you seen? Oh God, what was it? Oh my God, I can't remember his name now. It's not At the Mountains of Madness. It's Paranormal or Paranoia or something.
Oh, Paranormal Activity.
New Zealand actor. What do you call him?
Sam Neill. Do you mean In the Mouth of Madness?
No, it's the other one. Starts with a P.
P. Okay.
Hang on.
I don't know.
I covered it a while ago.
Okay.
It's very similar to that. This will take me a minute. Well, he has done tons of stuff. Oh, you can cut this part out.
Yeah, he was in another.
It's basically a guy who gets possessed.
Yeah, he was in another one
Possession.
called Possession.
Yeah, because they're going to remake that as well with.
Really?
Who's that? What's going on? Twilight bloke. Robert Pattinson.
Okay, I probably know him.
He's starring or he's doing it, but they're getting him. Yeah, Possession. It's very similar to Possession, without the overacting.
Okay, I don't think I've seen Possession. If I have, I don't remember.
It's a strange movie.
Okay. I like Sam Neill. I might have to check it out.
He really, in his early days, he really overacts.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting movie. This is along the similar veins of that.
Okay. Because I did enjoy In the Mouth of Madness and Event Horizon, and he was in a vampire one as well.
Daywalkers.
Oh, maybe. Can't remember the name.
Yeah, the vampire one was basically the sun gets blotted out and the vampires rule the world.
I think he was like a vampire lord in it, and he had a daughter that didn't want to be a vampire, something like
I
that.
think it is. I think it is.
Okay,
Sure, flip's sake, his most iconic role's Damien Thorne.
Damien Thorne. Okay,
The Omen 3.
no,
You,
I've seen the first one. I think I watched them all years and years ago, but I haven't.
Yeah, that's one of the best trilogies out there. Yeah, Sam Neill plays Damien Thorne as an adult in the
Okay, yeah, I
third
saw
one.
that so many years ago in a, I don't know, some kind of drugged out haze that I don't remember it. Yeah, yeah, but no, I'll have to watch them again because they were.
But,
I have some fond memories of the first one, but I don't remember 2 or 3 at all.
all right. I think 2's the best one
Okay.
because it's him as a teenager. Yeah, sorry, tangents.
That's okay, mate.
People know not to let me on their podcast. I go off tangents. You need to
No, it's all
remember
good.
to rein me in if I start getting off on different ones.
Uh-huh.
But the second one is as a teenager,
Mm.
and then coming to terms with the fact that he's the Antichrist.
Wow. Cool. Yeah.
It's a really good series.
I'm going to have to watch it again, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the second's the best out of the 3, just because it's that bit of Damien coming into realization of what he is and then accepting it.
Okay.
There's 5 books in the original books. There's 5 books actually,
Wow.
and this is where they messed up with God the Omen 4.
Okay.
Is they didn't just follow the books on. They sort of tried to, I don't know, do like a soft reboot or something. That was odd. And what was it? The direction was that it was supposed to be Damien was a little girl, but it wasn't. That there's a twist, you know, that it still went back. But they should have just done the 5 books. But hey ho.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh god, the remake of that. Have you seen the remake of the Omen?
No, I
It's
never.
terrible.
Yeah. No surprise.
It's awful.
Yeah, it's. I've never been into remakes. I think
Yeah.
I would have seen 1 or 2 of them, and then that was it. You know.
That's why I'm not covering too much. See new releases at the moment. Like, because there's so many remakes and stuff, I just don't bother. I'm not excited.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nah, I'll go back over old stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You might as well. Yeah.
Here's the latest remake. Do you know what I'll do? I'll go watch the original and review that. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'll revisit.
Yeah. That's a much better plan, I think.
Yeah, because stuff it.
Well,
But
thank you so much for hanging out today, Colin. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or shall we?
no, okay, man. I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to had a nice chat. Just to say then that we'll obviously be together on Saturday for the celebration stream for HORRORific Tales Volume 2. So good to have you on there, and we'll chat again.
Hell yeah, man! Looking forward to it. Awesome. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you very much.
All right.